Greek.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto-penned. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorite.
How many illegal immigrants did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president?
Oh, I don't know.
Have a guess.
No clue.
No clue. Interesting, right? You don't know.
I mean, I know it was a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know.
The answer is over 3 million. He was known as deporter-in-chief by Mexicans.
Yes, and that was more than Trump.
Way more than Trump.
Like
Deported way more than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in American history?
Barack Obama was once celebrated as the smooth-talking visionary destined to reshape America, a political icon whose image seemed untouchable. Yet behind the glow of media adoration and those carefully staged moments, the reality told a very different story. Broken promises, flat policies, and a legacy built more on style than real substance. When Joe Rogan and Piers ripped into that polished facade, the myth unraveled completely, exposing Obama not as the revolutionary he was sold to be, but as a master of political branding who delivered far less than the mountain of hype surrounding him.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorite.
How many illegal immigrants did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president?
Oh, I don't know.
Have a guess.
No clue.
No clue. Interesting, right? You don't know.
I mean, I know it was a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know.
The answer is over 3 million. He was known as deporter-in-chief by Mexicans.
Yes, and that was more than Trump.
Way more than Trump.
Like
Deported way more than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in America?
When you look at the policies and the attacks on whistleblowers and drone strikes and all the other that happened during that administration and the coup in Russia, and like there's a lot that's from a foreign policy perspective that's very similar to what George Bush was doing. But what they were doing was highlighting social justice issues that came about during his administration, largely obscured the fact that the foreign policies were very similar to what George Bush was doing.
Joe Rogan wasted no time tearing into Barack Obama, peeling back the polished exterior the former president spent years carefully maintaining and revealing something far less impressive beneath the surface. Obama has long been celebrated as a cultural icon, the eloquent speaker who could charm crowds, dominate headlines, and drop a playlist like a celebrity DJ. But Rogan went straight for the core of the myth. He reminded everyone that behind the carefully managed charisma lies a career politician who mastered the art of saying everything while accomplishing almost nothing. For all the lofty talk about hope and change, what America really got was a meticulously branded image campaign that fizzled into the same establishment mediocrity people now pretend never happened.
This is a perfect example of the abundant hypocrisy of the left.
How many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't care.
Well, hang on. You don't know and you don't care. You just given me.
Because it's not the issue.
Hang on, Joy.
Nursing babies apart and taking.
Joy, you've just given me.
I'm sure going to tell me it's your main issue.
You've just given me.
Is that what we're seeing?
I'm trying to finish my sentence. You've just given me a lengthy monologue attacking Donald Trump's aggressive deportation policy. And I've simply said to you there was a Democrat, a black Democrat president of the United States for 8 years. I'm simply asking, given that you're obviously all over every detail of the Trump deportation policy, and given you were on the airwaves in America on a daily basis through Obama's tenure, how many people did he deport in 8 years?
I do not know. You'll tell me. I'm sure.
Have a guess.
It was probably more than 1 million people. I'm quite certain.
Have a guess.
I think each 2 million.
Right, it was 3 million.
Rogan dissected Obama's legacy with surgical precision, exposing how he coasted on relentless media adoration rather than real accomplishments. This wasn't the fearless warrior for justice America thought it elected. It was a polished performer who gave eloquent speeches while Wall Street grew fatter and foreign policy grew bloodier. Rogan hammered the glaring disconnect between Obama's image as the cool, relatable leader and the reality of a presidency defined by drone strikes, mass surveillance, and an entrenched bureaucracy that resembled an exclusive country club for political insiders. He reframed Obama not as a hero, but as the world's slickest salesman, pitching an inspiring dream he never had any real intention or courage to deliver.
Obama's lying about that in front of the whole world. They lie about everything. You don't think they would cheat?
And I'll knock on some wood here because we got 2 months left. I am extremely proud of the fact that over 8 years, we have not had the kinds of scandals that have plagued other administrations.
If every word that comes out of your mouth is a lie, you can't tell me that I'm not allowed to suspect.
And because I had made a promise to the American people that I would not fall into some of the familiar habits of Washington.
When you're doing like low-level scams, like small counties where you have corrupt people that are working the voting machines, how many Republicans are paying attention?
That I wanted a new kind of politics. And at the end of 8 years, I think I can say to the American people, I delivered on that commitment.
How many Democrats are paying attention to the corrupt Republicans? There's always been election fraud.
I think it will be up to him to make determinations about how he wants to approach it. I know what worked for us, and I think it served the American people well.
Pretend that we lie about the very fine people. He said there were very fine people on both sides.
What really stung in Rogan's roast was how he spotlighted Obama's obsession with cultivating celebrity status over genuine leadership. Obama wasn't just a politician, he was an influencer long before influencers took over the internet. His Netflix deals, podcast ventures, and endless book tours looked less like the dignified post-presidency of a statesman and more like the calculated brand extensions of a man desperate to keep the applause alive. Rogan likened it to watching a once dominant heavyweight fighter refusing to retire, shamelessly hawking diet supplements on late-night TV. For Obama, those supplements weren't pills. They were glossy memoirs, curated playlists, and streaming specials sold as wisdom, packaged with the slick polish of celebrity marketing.
Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. You never seen it?
No.
It's amazing. He gets a glass of Flint tap water. I swear to God, he drinks it like this. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I'm still waiting for my water. I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
It's
that.
100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? No, you bring water on stage.
Then came the gut punch. Rogan ripped into Obama's obsession with posing as the moral compass of American politics while behaving just as cynical and calculating as the very establishment figures he claimed to transcend. Remember the drone strikes, the ballooning NSA surveillance, the record-shattering deportation numbers? Rogan dragged every one of those contradictions into the spotlight, pointing out how Obama skated by without real accountability because the media was too busy swooning over his swagger. He wasn't the fearless outsider tearing down the system. He was the system, dressed in a better suit and sold as a revolution.
When Obama welcomed the president-elect Trump to the Oval Office for that 90-minute meeting that Trump thought was going to last 15 minutes, Obama looked like Tutankhamun. He just his skin was so drawn across his face. It's like a snare drum.
Well, he must have been so exhausted.
Well, I think any presidency
is going to be taken over.
Just any president, like George W. Bush.
When Piers Morgan jumped into the roast, he brought that smug British edge that slices through pretense without blinking. Piers zeroed in on Obama's obsession with his own image, pointing out how every moment of his presidency looked choreographed, like he was auditioning for most photogenic world leader rather than actually leading. The perfectly timed pauses, the basketball photo ops, the celebrity sing-alongs. Piers shredded the illusion of authenticity, making Obama seem less like a president and more like an actor reading from a flawless script no one asked for. For Piers, Obama wasn't just overhyped. He was overscripted, overproduced, and overrated. Rogan piled on, torching the cult of personality that still hangs on Obama's every word as if he's some oracle. In reality, Rogan argued, Obama perfected the art of talking in sweeping generalities that sound deep but say nothing. Feed one of his speeches into a random slogan generator and you'd still get the same output. Hope, change, future, progress, unity. It's motivational word salad delivered with Oscar-worthy cadence, and Rogan mocked it mercilessly, pointing out that Obama's true superpower wasn't leadership at all, but tricking people into mistaking hollow inspiration for real transformation.
Actually, the biggest attacker of the press in modern presidential history was Barack Obama, actually, who was extremely
I never defended Barack Obama on that.
And I was interested earlier,
Piers, I never defended
Barack Obama. I was interested earlier
on
because you were talking about how Trump put people in cages and all this kind of thing. Do you know who deported the most people in American presidential history?
Yes, Barack Obama, and I pulled him out for
The roast only grew more savage as Rogan drilled into Obama's failure to deliver on the very promises that launched his rise. Guantanamo, Bay stayed open. Corporate money poured into politics like a busted fire hydrant. Wars dragged on without end. Yet somehow, Obama still glided by as the darling of the progressive elite. Rogan exposed that disconnect as pure theater, optics over action. Obama mastered the slow clap, the clever anecdote, the perfectly timed quip, but when it came to actually disrupting the establishment, he was as timid as a benchwarmer. Rogan painted him as the guy who talks tough at the gym but never lifts more than 10 pounds. Then Piers Morgan jumped back in for his second strike, zeroing in on the cult of elitism that orbited Obama's presidency. He highlighted how Obama thrived inside a bubble of academia, Hollywood, and fawning media figures who adored him not for results, but because he mirrored their worldview with flawless diction. Piers mocked the absurdity of Obama walking into a celebrity-packed room where journalists tripped over themselves to bow as if greeting royalty. Morgan's barb was sharp and final. Obama was never a man of the people, he was a man of the cocktail circuit, basking in applause from those who never felt the cost of his decisions.
You're guilty of massive amounts of misinformation, disinformation as a part of a propaganda campaign.
Attorney General Pam Bondi has directed federal prosecutors to launch a grand jury investigation into members of the Obama administration over the 2016 Russia investigation.
A lot of them are guilty of it. Yeah. A lot of the people that are in that White House press conference, a lot of the organizations they work for, distributed absolute lies.
Total lies.
Tulsi Gabbard declassified documents that she says shows Obama administration officials manufactured intelligence to make it look like Russia interfered in the 2016 election.
How many of them during the whole Russiagate thing?
A lot of people think that the Russia thing was real.
Yeah, still.
I mean, the whole Steele dossier where it was like completely concocted.
Funded by the Clinton campaign.
Correct.
Rogan doubled down, pointing to Obama's post-presidency as Exhibit A. Instead of rolling up his sleeves at the grassroots level or fighting the systemic rot he once claimed to despise, Obama cashed in on six-figure speeches, massive Netflix deals, and endless book tours. The man who once branded himself as a symbol of change had morphed into the living emblem of the political aristocracy. Rogan mocked the idea of Obama as any kind of social justice warrior when his downtime now involves private yachts, billionaire friends, and plotting how to keep his cultural glow intact. He called it the ultimate grift, running as the champion of the working class, then retiring as a well-paid brand ambassador for the global elite. What hit hardest was Rogan's relentless focus on Obama's hypocrisy. He ran as anti-war but escalated military interventions. He vowed transparency while crushing whistleblowers with a heavy hand. He spoke endlessly of unity, yet fanned division by playing identity politics when it suited him. Rogan hammered each contradiction with precision, leaving no rhetorical exit ramps, no convenient excuses. By the end of the segment, Obama didn't look like a misunderstood leader. He looked like a slick operator who conned America with a perfect smile, a catchy slogan, and an eye for personal profit.
Obama just said that on stage.
Obama just said that.
Our Constitution protects the right to practice free speech.
He doesn't give a
Here in the United States, countless publications provoke offense. Like me, the majority of Americans are Christian, and yet we do not ban blasphemy against our most sacred beliefs.
He doesn't give a They're
That's
just
a flat
going for
goddamn.
it.
As President of our country and Commander-in-Chief of our military, I accept that people are going to call me awful things every day, and I will always defend their right to do so.
Flat out lie.
Efforts to restrict speech can quickly become a tool to silence critics and oppress minorities. We do so because, given the power of faith in our life, the strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech.
Flat out.
Piers delivered his third critique with a sharp jab at Obama's relentless obsession with constant media appearances. He ridiculed the unending urge to stay culturally relevant by weighing in on debates years after leaving office. Whether it's issuing political commentary, releasing meticulously curated playlists, or surfacing in countless documentaries, Piers highlighted the underlying desperation behind it all. In Morgan's eyes, Obama is no statesman imparting genuine wisdom. He's merely a clout chaser stretching his fleeting 15 minutes of fame into an endless performance. For a man who once occupied the nation's highest office, he now resembles a fading pop star unwilling to end a farewell tour. Rogan intensified the blows, digging deeper into the psychology behind Obama's pedestal and exposing how his career thrived by exploiting America's hunger for change. He presented himself as the antidote to George W. Bush's disasters, only to quietly replicate many of the same policies under a smoother, cooler delivery. Rogan argued Obama's true brilliance lay in persuading people to embrace disappointment, wrapping failure in soaring rhetoric that sounded profoundly hopeful. By dressing mediocrity in poetry, he normalized it, and this sleight of hand worked only once, leaving millions blind to how little truly evolved.
And separated families. Oh, that would be Obama.
Do you know who
dropped the most? Hang on, I haven't finished yet. Do you know who dropped the most bombs? Do you know who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year? Oh, Barack Obama. Do you know who ran illegal drone programs that killed thousands of innocent people? Oh, Barack Obama. Do you know who actually campaigned in 08-09 to shut down Guantanamo Bay because as a former lawyer, he knew it was an illegal torture chamber? Oh, it's still open. So I'm afraid, Mehdi, your revisionism
this is the problem, Piers.
of Saint Barack against evil Donald doesn't quite cut it.
Piers concluded his fourth and final strike by highlighting what he saw as the profound hollowness of Obama's legacy. Strip away the eloquent speeches, the polished photo ops, the celebrity endorsements, and what remains is a record filled with half measures and compromises designed to appease entrenched power rather than challenge it. Piers argued that history will judge far more harshly than the present moment, because when the hype inevitably fades, the receipts of political reality are all that endure. Obama's mythos, he claimed, was constructed on image and style rather than genuine substance. People were entranced by the rhythm of his voice, the flawless presentation of his image, and the comforting belief that he embodied something transformative. Remove that glittering facade, however, and you're left with yet another career politician who mastered the game, catered to the influential, and left ordinary citizens still waiting for the sweeping promises that never materialized. Rogan described it as perhaps the greatest illusion in modern politics, convincing millions that beautiful words alone could serve as a substitute for actual, meaningful change.
Obama did it, where he repeated that lie about Donald Trump talking about white supremacists, saying they're very fine people on both sides. Let's play it.
Said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
That's crazy. I have never seen that last part.
The critique went far beyond surface-level charm, with Rogan carefully dissecting how Obama perfected the art of political optics, transforming speeches into spectacles and appearances into cultural touchstones. He wasn't really selling policies. He was selling pure inspiration. It was such a mesmerizing performance that people often forgot to question whether anything tangible was actually being delivered behind the curtain. For 8 long years, many mistook poetic delivery and eloquent cadence for real progress. Yet, the scoreboard for the average American remained disappointing and unimpressive. The wars dragged on without resolution. Wall Street prospered while Main Street struggled. The very communities that had invested their hopes in sweeping transformation saw little more than carefully polished rhetoric echoing through town halls, television studios, and late-night interviews. By the time Rogan stripped away those glossy layers, the illusion began to seem almost comical. He painted a portrait of a leader who existed more as a marketable brand than as a flesh and blood man, a figure meticulously engineered for magazine covers and television screens. The immaculate suits, the effortless smile, the calculated pauses, and the surgically timed applause lines all formed part of a flawless routine, like a stand-up act rehearsed to perfection. But unlike a comedian whose punchlines land in laughter, Obama's performance ended in the muted, heavy silence of expectations unfulfilled.
This is the accusation. They're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact in the election.
Rogan pushed his critique even further, ridiculing the absurdity of treating speeches as if they were genuine policy victories. It was as though eloquence itself had been elevated to the status of governance, where a perfectly timed joke or a dramatic pause at the teleprompter was celebrated as though it carried the weight of landmark legislation. The media eagerly played along, applauding the spectacle and confusing performance for accomplishment. The result was a presidency remembered more for its style and presentation than for concrete achievements, more for its theater than its tangible outcomes. Piers stepped in to twist the knife even deeper, emphasizing that the myth of Obama extended far beyond politics. It embodied elitism dressed up as relatability, a carefully engineered illusion. Obama was marketed as the approachable everyman who could shoot hoops on a public court, sip a casual beer, and belt out Al Green on stage with effortless charm. But Piers dismantled that image, exposing the calculated nature behind every supposedly authentic moment. Nothing, he argued, was truly spontaneous. Each move was meticulously staged for the cameras, designed to sell a fantasy of accessibility. Meanwhile, Obama's real inner circle was crowded not with ordinary citizens, but with billionaires, Hollywood elites, celebrity donors, and powerful corporate kingmakers who shaped the environment around him.
Absolutely must hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history.
But yet promoted this idea.
James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years.
And then there's been some incredible clips of all these different news reporters, CNN and MSNBC, just saying over and over and over again, clear.
What made the roast land with such brutal force was how starkly they contrasted lofty expectations with sobering reality. Obama was supposed to be a disruptor, a leader who would challenge the entrenched machinery of power. Instead, Piers painted him as its most reliable guardian, soothing public anger with elegant speeches while ensuring the gears of government kept turning exactly as before. This wasn't a revolution. It was routine maintenance, just sold with far better marketing. Together, Rogan and Morgan dismantled the carefully crafted myth piece by piece until no trace of the glowing aura remained. They depicted Obama as the political equivalent of a smooth-talking salesman, someone who dazzles you with charm, speaks in circles that sound profound, and leaves you holding an overpriced product that falls apart the moment you take it home. In this case, the product was the grand promise of hope and change, a beautifully wrapped box, heavy with anticipation, but hollow when opened. By the end, Obama stood stripped of the protective glow that shielded him for so long. The roast revealed not a revolutionary leader, but a meticulously manufactured figure of media adoration and establishment safety. Rogan cast him as the consummate salesman delivering an empty package dressed in glittering paper, while Piers added the finishing blow by unmasking the vanity and elitism embedded in his carefully polished brand. The combined effect was devastating. The myth crumbled under the sheer weight of reality, leaving only the image of a man whose greatest talent was never true leadership, but the flawless ability to sell himself.